lie, you're off and down. When you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's your fool, bitch. So just the fact, I'm mad that when I come down straight, I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. For what people stand, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises over the top. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Next up in your rhythm. Next up in your rhythm. Next up in your rhythm. Next up in your
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
Huh. Steve, Way, what is
Steve,
up?
how we doing, my friend?
Yo, how are you?
What's going on? Your backdrop's giving me boarding school vibes of how my room used to be set up.
I don't recommend it. Don't recommend it. Nope.
How you doing today, man? Good?
Bro, tired, but
Yeah. It's the weather. It's not good for high energy activity.
No.
Feeling.
no. But we're almost there.
Yes, exactly.
So I'd like to break the ice with some political. Let's break the ice. Let's make the interview go right downhill from the start. Has Trump pissed you off yet? Because his first term, it took him 5 days to piss me off when he burnt out the water protectors. Has Trump pissed you off yet? Has it gotten to the point yet this term, or no?
Or were you pissed off before?
Well, yeah.
So, it's funny because I recently did an episode of Subway Takes on Instagram, and I called Kamala Harris stupid, and a lot of people attacked me for that. And I'm like, well, you proved my point, right? Because she lost. So I was more pissed off at the Democrats before, but with that plane crash, when Trump blamed the plane crash
On DEI.
disabled air traffic controllers. And so I have a theory where basically they have like a giant dartboard of minorities. And whenever there's a crisis, they just throw that dart. And whatever it lands on, And I said, okay,
I'm just surprised dwarves made that list that time.
bro, it's so detached
From reality.
Yes, yes.
And I can speak as someone also with disabilities too, that, you know, like I think that like really just the ultimate moral straw that broke the camel's back for me personally was the comments he made about his own disabled nephew, where he said I think it was his brother or something, you know, you could just let him die, it'd be easier for everyone. It not only shows, like you said, a detachment from reality, but a detachment from humanity. And that was bad. But I want to ask you what in particular, like, you know, there are a lot of reasons we could go at it for what you said, but why in particular do you think Kamala Harris was stupid in this race or in general?
Yeah, so for me, Trump was smart because he played into the base. Right, mass deportations. I'm gonna lower the cost of groceries. Get rid of TEI. Get rid of trans rights. What did Harris do? She brought out Liz Cheney. Right, she led the whole party. They alienated the entire leftist side of the Democrats, whereas Trump did the opposite. Right, he fired up the farthest of the right, and that's what they want. Right, by bringing in people like Liz Cheney.
And
What
there
is
was
that for us? Right?
yeah, exactly.
What does that do for my health care? Nothing.
There was a very delicate dance that needed to be done as far as this election had gone. And there was a combination of the Democrats not being able to say to themselves, okay, they basically were saying to themselves, we're not going to stoop to their level on any sort. And they applied that to several different metrics that it didn't need to be applied to. And in general, they ignored people's needs and relied too much on the contrast of, hey, he's talking crazy and we're in Earth One and we're talking like, look at us, we're for change. And change is apparently self-explanatory in a world where we have to explain so much obvious to people. So yes, they absolutely were lacking there. And I feel like to that same point though, it's a little bit harder, I think, for the opposite, like Trump's base, easy bread and butter to, you know, kind of rile them up on immigration, all the obvious stuff that they, you know, it's easy to read those people in a sense. I don't feel the same as this is to be said about the other side. Like, I don't, as far as being able to easily read them and apply a blanket as Trump did, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the messaging, right? And unfortunately, I feel like I knew more about Trump's platform than Harris's platform. Because at the end of the day, Harris's platform was just, I'm not Trump, right? It's like, hey, we're not Trump. We're not the January 6th. And that's great. But we know that. We all know that. And it's like, again, what are you going to do for healthcare? Right? Because people love their healthcare. Yeah, they will never run on single payer. I have to make one thing clear. I know I shit on the Democrats a lot. I'm not a Trump supporter. A lot of people think just because I shit on Harris that I like Trump. It's not black and white.
Yeah,
I am a hard libertarian socialist. I'm to the left, right? But I have to call it out when there are big flaws.
Right.
And for Biden to drop out in what, June? What was it, May, June? Like,
June.
come on.
Yeah.
Come
And it was how long after that debate? I
Right.
think that not that he did sparkling at that debate, but I feel like immediately dropping out right after that doesn't do anyone any favors. But to your point, to the point we were talking about earlier, all those things considered about, like we were talking about, like, you know, Trump has a very wide blanket base that's, you know, easy to please most of them with saying a couple things, and another bunch of them by saying another thing. I guess with that considered, and the rhetoric, violence, and everything that they were throwing at people, just basically the unfair, like, whether we want to admit it or not, they had an unfair platform played against them by the Republicans, and no one was willing to hold them to account for setting that unfair playing field. So I guess my question is,
Your question is, who's this guy?
did they fight the best fight that they could, given the playing field?
No. I don't think they did.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I got here late. Don't make me pay any more penalty.
Hi, Jim Miller.
I want to
Well
say hi
said,
to
well said.
Steve, man. I'm looking at this
Beautiful.
conversation.
Beautiful.
You know, normally it doesn't get started like right on a bang at 4:20.
Yeah, we usually have a little more nonsense
I used
beforehand.
to always be known as the late Jim Miller till my wife died, and it seemed really freaking inappropriate after that. But it's like I set the clock fast in my bedroom, and it fools me. So I don't know how much of a
Lefty, I think we need to set up a flow where, like, you know, like we had like
Yeah,
what was his name from Georgia on the other week, and that was a very serious, like,
yeah
conversation we
well,
had from start to finish.
I just want to say, you know, like I got started late when I found out for sure, okay, we do have a guest. And I like to look up, you know, well, who's going to be on. And I got to tell you, man, it is no short-term task when you type in Steve Way. Who is this guy? Sorry, I didn't know anything. I don't watch a lot of streaming and TV and stuff. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time, but I got some digging to do here, Steve. Holy crap, man. I mean, between you and Ronnie and that whole thing, it's like I was caught off guard. I should have got started on this shit yesterday. But anyway, you know, I don't want to interrupt discussion I've been hearing for the last, I don't know how long. I feel like, you know,
On that point,
I've heard that again. Now I've heard that twice more. And I've heard that. And, you know, Lefty, everybody here knows how I feel about that. I mean, mentally, I'm doing this. You know,
respectfully, though.
Respectfully, but I gotta say, I always like it when a civil conversation is missing for something that, you know, it's sort of like it's easy to run over. So it wasn't hard for me to sit around particularly, but I'm like being repulsed by Facebook. I can't get through the trash to get to what I need there, which is to be able to corral people to make sure medical cannabis patients in New Jersey get home grow rights. I'm a real one issue man. Anybody will tell you that. But
so I just wanted to say on that point, real quick, Steve, would you mind? Because I admittedly, I learned that you were coming on, and I was ill doing my research. Would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and, you know, what you do?
Yeah, of course. 34 years old, born and bred in Jersey. I was born with muscular dystrophy. I'm an actor, comedian, public speaker, a writer, and a movie producer. Check out the movie Good Bad Things. We just put it up on Apple and Amazon 2 days ago. It's a disabled romantic comedy, and I'm very, very proud of it. I've also done a lot of public advocacy for disabled rights and healthcare. Last year, I helped get a bill passed in New Jersey that gave more rights and protections to 50,000 domestic workers. So basically, the people who take care of people like me.
Mhm.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank me. Thank you. I'm sorry. That was a thing with the dubbing in an old, instead of.
No, thank you. It's the English. It's the
I
British
get
back and
my-
forth.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I love that though. You're a comedian. You're a right that, and you know what? I just want to say right here. In in this climate we're in right now, it is several beyond layers of refreshing to see someone like you, because it just speaks to the fact that the land of opportunity is far from dead. You blow me away with your qualifications I've heard so far and what you've done. It's astounding.
Thank you.
And I think if anyone's gonna stick it in the craw of the message against DEI and the disabled, you're definitely one of the people at the forefront right there.
Yeah, I'm
100%.
doing my best. When I was 14, I was in the hospital for a month, and my hospital bill was $750,000. Yeah, and that's when I was first radicalized.
Wow.
At 14.
Yeah.
I did not understand why I would have to pay so much for something that I certainly didn't ask for. This was my body just betraying me, right? And $750,000. It's absurd for anyone. So, I really got into advocacy then, and then again the summer of 2017, when the Trump administration tried to cut Medicare and Medicaid. And I remember watching CNN and seeing friends of mine being dragged out of their wheelchairs
Oh.
by Capitol Police when they were protesting. And I thought, well, if they could do it, then I could do something too. So that's when I really learned about universal health care, single payer health care. Yeah, big supporter of that. I'm terrified right now. Elon Musk has all the Medicaid information. So why does this unelected government employee have my information just because of the way that I was born? This is a coup. And the media is just, oh well.
My friend, I couldn't agree with you more. We have someone who's unelected. We have an unelected man from South Africa and a slew of creepy 20-some-year-olds who follow his every whim, accessing information they have no merit or even have any close to right to have, politicizing departments that are not meant to be politicized and putting people's lives in jeopardy. I couldn't agree with you more. And I guess through hearing the tone in that explanation, I would follow that up with, please keep the faith. There are many people like you who are standing up and shouting and saying, we did not elect you. We are not bowing to you. And the more that we keep speaking on, whether it just be a video someone posts, or going to the state courthouse and protesting, or going all the way to DC, however you want to peacefully, there are people out there fighting. And as long as we keep fighting, we see, look at how they're handling things already. They've already rescinded the tariffs. Oh, we're going to do tariffs. No, never mind that you have a backbone. No, we're going to back off on that, except for China, because that's an enemy that we can all, basically hate and agree on. So my father always said to me that, the backbone someone exhibits shows more than just their backbone.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm fired up. I'm motivated. The disabled community is so strong, and we're all ready for a fight. So I appreciate the solidarity because we can't do it alone. We need the allies, and the allies are coming out. Unfortunately, so many marginalized groups are being targeted at once. So it's so difficult to keep up with what's happening.
In Edison, the police blocked off the handicap entrance with
Yes.
barricades and cars. So they forced 4 disabled people up this huge incline. Now we had a woman with one leg, you had a disabled vet in a wheelchair, a push wheelchair, somebody else in a traveler being pushed, and me in my electric wheelchair. And in the rain, this is in the rain. And they did this for
No
2
guardrails.
no guardrails, no lighting, a ridiculous incline, not ADA compliant. And so now I bring my wheelchair to the council meeting, my push wheelchair, and I demand that one council member get in that wheelchair and push themselves up that ramp like they did to the sick people. And nobody take me up on it yet. But I'm bringing that wheelchair every week, every time I go there now.
As you should. As you
Yeah.
should.
Keep showing up. We got
Lefty's a piece of work, but you kind of know what you're getting with him. If
He's
you
the right
call,
piece for it.
you go ahead and call Lefty. You're an asshole. He'll go, why would you say that? I mean, the reaction, no, I'm not. What about you? And that would, and I've always admired that about him. It's nice to know, though. I mean, like the conversation you'll have with people. I mean, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Take a chance with, people you have not interacted with yet. And you know who Lefty is, and I don't know how long you were going without me. Sorry again, I was late.
Well,
But I don't have Jim Miller, but I was married for 19 years with a woman with multiple sclerosis, primary progressive. So it got to the point, I guess, the last 6 or 7 years of her life, the wheelchair had to be leaned back a little. And she could move her head a little bit like this, shoulders, and but she couldn't use her hands, And so anyway, I see things maybe differently than some other people, a little more clear. And, I was, where did you say? Because, you didn't have a chance to who's this guy, Jim Miller? And unfair advantage here. But something that stuck with me is you said something like, at any given time, at least one time on any day, somebody's going to see me naked, and as innocuous as a thing as that was, it led perfectly into your meaning that to live a certain kind of life, you got to give up a lot of ways of looking for things, and Brian Cummings, Lefty, a good friend with MS, who sought me out 10 years ago at the podcast because he knew Cheryl had primary progressive, and she's pretty well known to people doing what I do. And anyway, I got to see the world through her eyes, and I got to say, when I heard and Steve's got a long-time girlfriend. You're talking with Rami and on somebody else's podcast, I guess, and it was really cool. I mean, I was leaning in like I was there, and it was just so it kept touching these buttons from 20 years ago, and for the last couple of years, I've been saying I got to get to be half the man I used to be to get things done, what I need to do for patients, because Cheryl, being a medical cannabis patient herself, when she was asked by David Pace of the Associated Press in Washington for getting arrested in front of Bob Barr's office. Well, I got arrested. She didn't. She blocked the doorway, laying down in her. We're waiting for them to say, you're going to have to move. Oh, they didn't phrase it like that. She had pretty good comebacks because she can't move. But what I read, because when somebody wanted to talk with her, I disappeared because she'd look at me if she wasn't sure about an answer. brain lesions doing what they do a little bit. But anyway, I was so surprised, and it struck me to read when Dave asked her, "So, do you think this is going to be of a help for you?" And she goes, "Oh no, it's too late for me. I'm trapped in my body, and my body's deteriorating. It's not enough time for me, but I do this because there's a lot of other Jim and Cheryls out there that have more time." And she says it just like Edith Bunker on All in the Family, with no, just it's so matter of fact, so beatific every time. So anyway, it's just like been interesting seeing the parallel that hidden. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into Steve Way and Ronnie. I'll tell you that now, though. I don't know how to see stuff like on Google and all that. I'm pretty, somebody else has to do things for me because I'm a little disabled in my head. I think that's what Rami said. He just said I was disabled in my head or whatever. I just love that. So I really look forward to hearing. I'm really, my trouble is I interrupt. And the only reason I interrupt is sometimes I get a bit forgetful. And it's not because I like to smoke. I'm pretty much a patient too, but this isn't my severely disabled feet. Ooh, that's another thing. Cheryl would be like, I'd come home and I'd go, "Oh man, my back's really sore." And she'd be laying there, go, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey." You know how easy my life got with comments like that doing that to me.
And
But I also, I do learn from others people's situation, and I think there's a lot I can learn from you that's already out there. No more input necessary after this point. I could look back. So, thank you for that, man. It's
I'm so glad you said that, Jim, because I was just going to say that the thing I've learned to value throughout my life about the disabled community, through just my acceptance of my own disabilities, is the perspective, the strength of perspective that those in the disabled communities both learn to experience and teach others. You could be so down about your own situation and what's wrong with your body or what's wrong there, and then you could look at someone else's situation, and you really just look at you being that you're disabled yourself. You're able to say, okay, this could be worse. This could be a lot worse.
Well, we're stigmatized and we're bullied still to this day. Stigmatized and bullied.
And again, it could be worse. It could be worse. We could be the one thing that I left with immediately after, because what was it? The whole story about the timeline of how I started my content for me in my head sticks with me, because there was October 7th, and then the day after I started making videos. Why, do you ask? Usually with these world events that happen on these kind of tragedy levels, I get very in my head. I get very stuck. I get very obsessed with things that I can't control. And I thought to myself, if there were somehow some sort of magical portal open right in front of me, a viewpoint to those people, to what they're dealing with, and me wallowing in my own shit, it would appear to be a waste of opportunity and a lack of perspective. And I just started doing it from there, because I felt like, you got it. You can have the perspective and you can feel emotion about it. What you do with that emotion really matters, not just for yourself, but how other people look at you and your situation and how you're impacting those around you.
Steve, do you think Bryan Cranston understands what it's like to be in a wheelchair after making a movie in a wheelchair?
No. Nope. None of them do. And Eddie Redmayne. No. Sam Claflin. No.
Big bag and no.
No. And it's not possible.
So then you say they don't understand. So let me ask you then, who is the person you've enjoyed working with the most so far?
I mean, my best friend. Robbie Youssef for over 20 years.
I love that answer.
Yeah. I knew the answer to that. I just met him about 6 hours ago.
Yeah.
No, what a relationship. Holy shit.
Yeah. Robbie has seen me at my best and my worst. You know, he's helped me with the most intimate things. So he gets it. Robbie is there's someone who is more than just an ally. You know, he's basically part of the community because he's given me a platform to tell the stories that I want to tell, right, and the ways that I want to tell it. Right, it's so authentic, and our friendship is so real, and I think it just proves that it's not difficult at all. You know, it's like there's no reason for Bryan Cranston or Eddie Redmayne to play those roles when people like me are right here. Right, we've done it, we've proved it, and we live it. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amen.
Wow,
Amen.
that would have been interesting. I mean, you got you got some acting chops. I don't, you know, I mean, I'm not the one to go to for that opinion from what I've seen, but it's, I don't know how to put it. I've just felt better all day since finding something new for me, a new avenue for me to investigate, which is you and Romney and the whole story. There's so much waiting for me there when I'm like, oh, I know what I'll do. What is that moment? When I need an hour or so. Oh, I'm pretty excited about that, you know.
And you know what? I feel gives Steve Way here his acting chops is his even stronger humanity chops. That bit he shared right there about his friend was fucking beautiful. And I feel like, to his point, that these gentlemen are not going to understand what it's like to be in a wheelchair because they don't have Steve Way's humanity chops. And once you get in touch with that humanity in yourself, you are able to touch on so much emotion of that other people experience. Maybe not exactly, sure, but you're at least able to start the process of being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm a wheelchair user, but part-time, so I can walk. But now there's a thing with traveling. Do you travel like on a plane or a train? And how has that been for you?
Yes, good question.
I love the train. I'll take the train anywhere.
Thank you.
I liked the plane, the airplane for the convenience, but it's so risky.
Mm-hmm.
Planes, you said?
Yeah. There's a video on my TikTok from almost 4 years ago when my wheelchair is being loaded off a plane and the right armrest with the joystick just fell off. And the guys on the tarmac are laughing because they have no idea what the hell they're doing. And that happens every day.
All the time.
Now, also, I live very close to New York. Right, so I'll take the bus by myself to New York. And half the time, the lift on the bus won't work. Or the driver has no idea how to operate it. So I gotta tell them how to do it. And then when I get to New York, I gotta figure out which subway stations have elevators. And then I gotta figure out which of those elevators are actually working that day. So there's so much planning.
And Steve, I gotta ask, like, what was it with flying? Do you have to worry about air pressure or any physical, like, attributes about flying at all?
No, thankfully no. But my problem is that it's very difficult for me to sit in a regular seat. So that destroys my body for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So if I go somewhere I gotta fly like a day or two in advance just to give myself time for my body to heal.
Is your train experience strictly with in New York and NJ Transit, or have you done Amtrak too?
Amtrak too, Amtrak.
Are they good to you?
They're fantastic. Yeah.
Good. At least there's that. And you know what? If far-fetched and a little magical Christmas land, but I mean, if they're working on flying cars, then there's something down the road somewhere. Hopefully.
I don't have, but like Jim said before, I don't know if I'll ever see it. Right?
Yeah.
I'll be lucky if I live to 40, But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna fight for it. Right? If I see it, great. But if not, then I'm doing it for the next generation.
Yeah,
There's
when
a
you-
wonderful quote that speaks exactly to what you said, and I believe it was Isaac Newton who no, it's a Greek proverb, a general Greek proverb that says, "Wise men plant seeds of trees that they know they'll never see the light of."
that sounds like Cheryl, man. That's what she was saying. And I
You
got
are-
I got to
You
say,
are such a commendable person, Steve. We're still going here, but I just want to say I am just so glad I feel gifted that I was able to interact with you. I'm moved on several levels by what you've said, and they say things happen to you for you have certain experiences and run into things for a reason, and this was definitely one of the days where I was bogged down with a bunch of, let's just say, childish BS. That this is definitely, like I said, put into perspective. You've blown me away, dude, honestly, and I'm definitely, like Jim, going to be doing a deep dive into you as well.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if my father's probably heard of you. He's long communicated different comedians, writers with disabilities that he's watched. Are any of you familiar with that one? The one guy with he has the leg limp, really great comedian. I've watched him a couple of times. I can't remember his name though.
I got a question. Steve, have you ever tried cannabis in any form?
Yes.
It helps you, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I actually I used to be addicted to Percocets. About 12 and a half years ago. I broke both of my legs. And, yeah. Trust me, the irony hurt much more. But I got hooked on Percocets for about 3 months. And I remember doing a stand-up set. And it was the first time in my career I forgot my jokes.
oh,
And I was like, all right, this is done. It made me stupid. And that's where I started finding cannabis and changed my life.
What's your preferred vibe? I with cannabis as far as like a feel.
I like to feel light. Get rid of the heaviness, get rid of the pain. It helps me focus
yes.
on my work. When I'm not distracted by my own physical body.
Right.
Right, I just think. And that's the biggest help that I can ask for.
Right away, I would recommend there's an excellent strain I love personally for those specific reasons. I have, aside from my autism, I have club feet. So when I work a long shift, I'll be hobbling across my apartment. Zero Gravity X, I did a review on that.
Okay.
I love it. It's a GMO Oreos mix. It's floaty, but you don't feel disoriented. You can articulate. You feel like you can direct your mind. It's like a haze, but a calmer, slower haze.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get back into it. I usually don't smoke that much during the winter.
Right.
Just because the cold weather affects my lungs.
Right.
So
You don't
much.
go outside.
No. So I've been drinking a lot. A lot of espresso martinis. And that just makes me stupid. But
Right.
it helps too. But we know that alcohol can be a little dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So one piece of knowledge I would share with you, I'd ask is that do you yes, how do I phrase this? Do you utilize the concept that your body, I mean, being that you've gone through using Percocets and stuff, that your body needs both sides of the spectrum as far as something to dampen the pain, but also acknowledging that your body needs energy to fight and keep you going throughout the day?
Oh yeah, for sure. Caffeine. A lot of it.
So what's your preferred method of caffeine?
Espresso.
I
What's your
I thought
favorite munchie food?
Macaroni and cheese.
What is it?
McNuggets?
McNuggets?
Macaroni and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or Taco Bell. Or White Castle.
He likes cheese. He likes his
Oh,
cheese.
Yes.
Nathan Johnson from Georgia has a question. He wants to know if you've ever had freaky sex with a woman trying to share your Percocets.
My brother in Christ.
Oh,
You have no idea.
what a wonderful answer.
You have no idea.
Good. That was even better. I love that.
I get it. I was on opiates for 10 years for my pain, and I used cannabis to get off of all the opiates. I had this 2-level cervical fusion without any opiates. I used cannabis for this. It was amazing. It worked. Every orifice was full of cannabis tincture, oils, lotions, suppositories, you name it. And I took 0 opiates for this surgery. And
That's great.
yeah, I was amazed that cannabis actually did that for me.
Yeah, it's so great.
And then there's people who will ignore the concept completely. My father, I love him to death. He's a great man, very knowledgeable doctor. There are points of humanity where you don't listen to reason, though. When we were young, we went to the Poconos and we went tubing one night, and we didn't think through the fact that everything was frozen. So he went right off the ramp and way into the woods. So we just hear, oh, boom, oh. So a couple of his ribs got broken. They mended it, and then over the years, was like a couple years ago, right before COVID, he had to get surgery. So post the surgery, he said, I'm not going to take painkillers. I'm just going to ride it out. And I was like, okay, you're a doctor, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You probably have something in mind. He ended up back in the hospital because he took too many Advil. And I remember looking at him like, I offered you, can't, like, why? Like, why can't you just, I'm your son. I'm not trying to lead you on a path of like the devil's lettuce and trying to,
I know, I get it. My mother is the same way. She's the biggest hippie you ever meet, and she hates cannabis.
Really?
How does that work?
And she worked.
No, I understand it.
Oh, I get it. But
I mean,
And
I'm not questioning that it is that
No.
way.
Maybe she ate Woodstock
Well,
weed.
yeah, no, being a hippie is a mind thing. It's not whether or not you smoke pot. I mean,
right.
I'm going to be 73 this year, so I kind of remember it. Like,
Tell her it's better now. The weed's
pretty
better.
firsthand.
Does
I
she
have to-
partake in any sense at all? Does she like mushrooms
No.
or anything like that?
No, I mean, my mom in the 80s worked on Wall Street. So take that for what you will.
Before or after the hippie? This.
After. So if you've ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought.
yeah, that was my mother. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
She does, yeah.
I have
Doesn't
to
usually reverse that happens.
Acknowledge Nathan here. Nothing offends me.
I knew the answer to that.
Oh yeah, no,
I already knew that, Nathan. Nathan's a great guy. I got to talk. Just the easiest
Yeah.
way to sum it up.
Appreciate
Well,
that.
you
I
know.
saw the question. I wasn't definitely not going to be the first person to be like, "Hey, Steve." So no,
Yeah, and
absolutely
I
not.
just want to work something in when I could. I make notes because I forget, and it's not so much because I smoke, or that could be a rationalization. I don't know. Um, it was the getting in and out of the bus, and the bus drivers don't know even how to work. I not that that was familiar to me and Cheryl, but I guess we didn't really think it all the way through about going down to Washington one time. Cheryl, we watched this thing. Okay, the short version. Uh, Cheryl got tired of people saying there's no test with MS spasticity and cannabis. So on October 10th, 1997, as announced in the Star Ledger, we went to the State House, and in her hospital bed, I put her in. She was stiff, like, whoa. And all she had was a tincture because she wouldn't smoke it. And the press was there, I think 3 TV stations and stuff, and they waited for the hour, and she was like cooked spaghetti afterwards. And now the thing is, to make the test work, I had to be tested and arrested. That was the plan. They refused to test. They didn't want to give the forces against them making this credible any ammunition. So after doing that, we saw this thing on I think it was Rosa Parks, and Cheryl really liked that, so she thought, why don't we go to Washington and I'll use my medicine there and we'll get arrested. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty ballsy for being in that condition. And I explained, I said, listen, the risk is I can't be guaranteed to be right there with you when this happens. So, and she had a lot of faith, So anyway, yeah, we went there, and you go to YouTube and look at Cheryl Miller medical marijuana or whatever. It'll come up. It'll probably be the first thing that'll come up. The NBC News footage of it. It was 1998. But now we had to be transported after we got arrested. And they didn't know how to get Cheryl's wheelchair. They had to figure out how to work the thing in the back. They finally figured it out, but they look like 2 electricians trying to be plumbers or something. They didn't know how to, and they're asking me for help. And I'm like, hey, you arrested her, I didn't. I sat on the other side of the bus looking at them, watching. And I told her, I said, listen, I can carry her and I can put her in the back seat and take care of her. No, we're not allowed to do that, So it was this whole thing, which was our lesson, if you can't arrest her, why don't you protect her, sort of thing. But anyway, the rest was like that. That became like some pretty quick national news and the Associated Press story of the day. And from that day on, Cheryl felt really connected. She realized that the worse her physical condition got, the stronger her advocacy power became. And she died with a medical marijuana shirt on her in hospital. I mean, and yeah, it was pleasant. It was, in a situation, it's coming like that. All I wish for is no baggage, and handle it. And man, I'm probably the luckiest man alive because everything's right in place beforehand. I was so, whatever it took. And, but it was moments like that where the simplicity and they couldn't do anything about it. I mean, she just struck a chord getting arrested because the lieutenant, woman, highest ranking Capitol Police officer, Lieutenant Frith, was mad because I wasn't handcuffed and I'm pushing her in, and they were like insubordinate. It's just like weird watching all that happen. But everything just makes more sense to me, and I don't know if you know who Matt Rife is. I mean, you should. You're a comedian. I'm guessing that was a stupid question. I'm more or less doing this for the other
You all
guy.
know each other, right?
Yeah, but
All
his
the same
his
group chat.
crowd wheelchair crowd work, it reveals some things to people that I don't think would be revealed otherwise. Like one person saying, when I go to a show, if there's a joke that people might think might be offensive to me, I notice the people closest to me they're not laughing at all. And then a little further out, and I said, yeah, I found that to be true, and
Now,
You know, and I've made a couple of mistakes though. I wish I could go back and correct them. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's humorous exactly, but whatever made Cheryl laugh, even especially about herself,
So
was
Jim,
well.
on that
Yeah,
note, I
yeah.
have to ask because this has been I've been wondering. I've had this thought a couple of times through talking to you, and I haven't figured out how to phrase it because I have a very similar
How
relation.
about straightforward down the middle of the
Got
tooth,
it,
right
got
at the
it.
gut? Come on.
So towards the end with Cheryl, I can tell you like when my grandfather was dying of pancreatic cancer, there was the time where we knew, you know, the end was coming. You know, and we were waiting for, you know, we'd go out from visits to the hospital, over to the restaurant, and we'd be looking at the phone, waiting for the doctor to call us or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, and so
I say this as the point where, you know, your family members want you to be happy. Did you ever get that call that was the false alarm that made you laugh?
I was always with her. There was no call to get. In other
So-
words, I was always there. But let me put it to you this way: the best moment I had with Cheryl was they were wheeling her down to have a sonogram because there's something going on, and you know I'm cognizant that the ceiling's going by and she's got guys on either side. No, I'm always there. So on the way down the hall, I said, "Let me ask you something. Who's first thing you see when you wake up in the morning?" And she said, "You." And I said, "What's the last thing you see when you go to sleep at night?" "You." I said, "Well, you know, I'm going to be right by your side all the way down there, but I'm not going to be allowed inside, but I'll be right outside the door." "You know why?" She went, "Because you love me." It was an accusation, like you can't help it, can you?
I
You know,
love that.
and so through all the other stuff, but that call, the only thing I can say is when Mom was available, because you know she was not alone a lot. It was pagers, and Rick had a pager, and we worked together, built, you know, carpenters building decks. And when the pager would go off, yeah, that absolutely, it like, you know, I mean, I must have stopped breathing sometimes because I would always have this exhale, you know.
See,
So
my
it never
grandfather
happened.
definitely
I
knew
had
that.
I had to make that call a couple times though. So
Yeah.
and you know yeah, I mean I had to tell Cheryl her daughter died when I found out first. She watched her son play with a gun, and 5 weeks before he got married, shot himself, and he died. So I was real careful with her the whole time, you know, and you know, and then I hear like, you know, I'm seeing like Rami and you go, oh, both lucky families that loved us, cared about us, not just for us, you know, and the whole thing very reminiscent with me as well, you know, but it's just it's different for everybody. The one thing I've learned through it all is you'll never hear me say I know what you mean. I know how you feel. I mean, I don't think I've said I know how you feel, you know. As a matter of fact, when her son died, it was pretty huge because he was like the little.
That's true. The most I've ever heard you say to that regard is, "I get it."
Yeah.
You get the comment.
Yeah. But it's I had to tell everybody because there's gonna be a lot of people at the funeral that don't let me catch you saying I know how you feel, Cheryl, and I'm always there. Don't let me catch you saying, oh, by the way, there's a lot of pictures of Cheryl, and hardly any videos. I dare you to find a picture of us where I'm not touching her. I didn't notice it until years later. Like
Carrying her.
I always, it's the light. It's just, but it was unconscious.
Beautiful. This is why I love doing this cast, is because whether it be for like the realest reasons that you, Steve and Jim and Lefty bring to the table, or sometimes I do, or just nonsense that we talk, it's one way or another that I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling uplifted. I'm seeing the good of humanity within 3 to 4 people.
Speaking of that, Steve, if you had a friend who was down on his luck, who was upset, depressed, what would you say to them to lift their spirits up, to make them feel better?
I would get him an escort.
I'm gonna. Oh, you're a good friend. You're a good friend. You're a good friend with resources.
We ask everyone that question. That's
Everybody gets the munchie question, that question, you know.
Oh, the munchie.
I do want to ask you, Steve, because I was very curious about this. I got sidetracked. Now, were you diagnosed, and when did this all start for you?
I mean,
I may have missed that.
it was obvious when I was born.
Okay.
No,
So-
I didn't walk till I was 2. I was diagnosed when I was 4. And then it got worse. I stopped walking when I was 10. And then, like I said, when I was 14, I had back surgery. Almost killed me. And here we are 20 years later.
And I asked because, like, I'm very curious to follow up with this, but before that, like, my perspective as far as just someone with disabilities in general growing up, like, aside from everything else, I had doctors and parents telling me, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you're not going to do this. And that, for any disabled person you're not going to know what you're capable of or be intact with yourself at all. So, but really more to the point, I ask you, what was generally speaking, what was your childhood, what was your teenage years like that led you where you are now?
Oh wow. I think it was after my near-death experience because my doctors told me that if I got sick again, I wouldn't survive it. So I basically just waited to die. And I heard that when I was 14. When I was a kid. So I didn't really have a lot of hope for the future. And then when I was 25, my doctors were like, oh, you're good. You're healthy. You're going to live. And I'm like, fuck. Like, you prepared me to die. I didn't plan. And now I got to figure out life. I was always prepared for the worst. I was never prepared for something good.
Wow.
I never heard, Steve, you can have a great career. Steve, you can have a huge voice. Steve, you can find love and have relationships. I never heard any of that.
And yet you have all that.
Yes. Because I figured it out on my own. I'll give you about 5 more minutes.
Oh,
I got work to
I
do.
have one more question before everyone else jumps in with one more. I have just a very quick one.
you're on the
Steve.
clock, man.
Desert Island Desk. You got 5 records. You're on a stranded on an island. You get 5 records and 1 luxury item. What are you picking?
5 records.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Enter the 36 Chambers. Wu-Tang Clan. Midnight Marauders. A Tribe Called Quest. Hold on. Aldrin Greatest Hits. Love Aldrin.
Love it.
Huh.
Nevermind. Nirvana. One more. 1989 Taylor Swift. Because,
I like that array. And your luxury item.
oh! Luxury item.
I'll throw you a bone and say cannabis is included on the island.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you don't need that.
It does so much.
Yeah.
It's a multi-purpose.
Luxury item.
Yeah.
An espresso machine.
Your what?
Espresso machine.
Espresso.
I love that.
Yeah.
I got a
An
question.
island where you stay awake, get high, and listen to tunes.
Okay, he's only got 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. I'm guessing on that. By the
Do
way.
your worst.
I obviously have no watch. Yeah, that's not right away or nothing. But would you come back and do this again?
I'll do this tomorrow.
Oh
I
man,
love this. I
No.
love this.
because seriously, yeah, we have amazingly good guests come on, which I don't know why podcast that we give, or maybe that is why for some people. But yeah, this is like not even the first layer of the onion here, and somehow I'm telling you, we're all leaving feeling good. and it's all about us, not you. So we want you to make us feel good again, and it's
Steve, you got a website where the people can contact you?
Yeah,
Instagram, all that.
Instagram is Steve White. Yeah, check out the movie Good Bad Things. I'm on TikTok, that's Steve White. Facebook, Steve White. Actually, I'll send you the movie. Check it out. I'd love to talk about it.
one more, yeah.
Right
Are you at all on Facebook? Because I
Yeah.
have a very limited social media presence.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay, Jim Miller will be doing a friend request. He'll be easy to find.
I just
Okay.
followed you on Instagram, bud.
Let's do it.
And I
Right,
just want to say
man.
to you, I stand with you. Everything you stand for, your adventure and everything, 100%.
And I got to
You
say, just
are inspiring beyond belief.
private. No, I don't want it to be a private joke between Steve and me, but I don't know. I chuckled both times you said we stand with you because Cheryl used to always giggle when somebody would say something.
Yeah, there's very ableist, dark humor there.
I know, but it's just like, I tell you, we are an eclectic trio here. I'll tell you that though. So
Don't read too much into the leg gesture. It's a metaphor.
this is breaking up on me.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you so much for this time.
You're incredible, dude.
Whatever.
Big fan. I tell you,
Whatever.
I got something to dig into now. I'm happy.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got something to chant and champion now. I love it.
All right. Thanks a lot for being here, Steve.
Thank you, guys. Solidarity.
Bye bye.
Steve
That
White,
was-
buddy.